Okay, we are 8:31. We're actually a minute behind schedule. Everybody want to grab their seats or grab somebody else's seat, whatever, until the music stops. My name's Ron. I'm an alcoholic. Some quick announcements. We have a Facebook page, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. We also now have a YouTube page. Talks are being posted on there, so if you miss it or you'd like to share it with somebody, it's a great thing. If you can't find it, see one of us. We always kid. Like and subscribe, smash the like button, they say. I'm not young anymore. Anyway, that's important. What else do I got to talk about? In this room here, Monday night, we have a literature. It's called the Stay Alive Literature Step Meeting. We pick a different step every week in succession, different speaker each week. Half hour for the speaker to talk on the step and open to share. And our sister group is a big book study that meets on Thursday, about a block from here. At Salem, used to see church every Thursday. Come see us if you're in the neighborhood. Anyway, who's our chairperson? Nick's coming up here. Please welcome him and have fun.
Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Mick and I am an alcoholic. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church on 301 North Main Street in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 right here. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God-reliance and service to others through the practice and teaching of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from the message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town who would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Yes, sir.
Chris Alcoholic.
Welcome.
Jay Alcoholic.
Welcome.
Jay Alcoholic.
Welcome.
Brian Alcoholic.
Hey, Brian, welcome. Welcome. Hi, Allison. Welcome. Hello. Hi, Susan. Welcome. What's up, Dave? Welcome, everybody. Yes, sir. Hi, Alex. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Excellent. Are there any announcements for the floor for the good of AA? We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see myself or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purchase of big book and CDs to help those who can't afford them can put donations in a jar on the table marked Big Book and CD donations. If you would like a CD of any speaker, past or present, please see myself or Ron or any home group member after the meeting. They are available free of charge. And now with that, I have Brian to come up and read the AA Preamble.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brian. I'm an alcoholic. This is the AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and to help others recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, and there are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy. Neither endorses or opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and to help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. Jason's going to come up here and he's going to read the 12 steps.
Good evening, Jason, alcoholic. 12 steps of recovery. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood it. 4, made a search and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all of these defects of character. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
We have one quick announcement. Tomorrow at the Warwick Park, there is a big book breakdown at 12 noon. Free food fellowship. It's actually an anniversary meeting. If you'd like any information about that, you can see Chris Colella. Chris, please raise your hand. That beautiful man right there. Go talk to him if you want to go to that. And we have a 7th tradition which states every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. At this time, we'd like to pass the basket. We have no dues or fees, but we do have expenses. This group provides many services. Your donations cover rent, big books, CDs, events, and workshops. And once again, there's absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones and try to limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. And now to introduce our speaker, a good friend of the Conscious Contact Speaker Group, Brandon N. from Life or Death down in Philadelphia.
How are you? My name is Brandon. I'm an alcoholic. The fact of the matter is I'm a very satisfied customer of Alcoholics Anonymous. Very, very satisfied customer of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because it's afforded me the ability to do things like this. I live in Philadelphia, right downtown in Old City, right next to like Betsy Ross's house. And that's not where I came from. But I did work throughout the day yesterday in my home, and then I got in my car, my very first car that I bought, fully insured, licensed under my name. I'm a 42-year-old grown man who just received his first ever driver's license a year and 3 months ago. Never had a driver's license in my life, right? Satisfied customer of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I got into my brand new car, and I drove to Baltimore to pick my mother up. My 83-year-old mother, and then we drove to Washington, D.C., where I stayed at my brother's house, and we woke up at 6 a.m. this morning to watch my nephew graduate from Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C. And then from there, I took them out to go eat, and then I put my 83-year-old mother back into my car, and if anyone has a mother that's around that same age you might be able to relate to, it's very similar to dealing with a small child. And I put her back into my car, and I drove her back to Baltimore City where she lives, and I in turn got right back into my car, and I drove almost back to Philadelphia to then turn and drive 45 minutes out of my way to here. To where I ran in the bathroom, I took my shirt off, I brushed my teeth in the sink. Mark and a gentleman here, he was great moral support, helped me tie my tie. And the beautiful thing about everything I just shared with you is there was not one time in any of that where I said, God, this is really like daunting. God, this is really tough. I just drove like 5 hours today. I don't really feel that did not happen. As a matter of fact, I was eagerly anticipating getting here, being with my people, right? Because like Alcoholics Anonymous has provided me the opportunity to do that, because the guy who picked his mother up is the same mother who who spent 9 years ago on Mother's Day buying me a plot. She's the same mother that served me with a restraining order. She's the same mother that took life insurance policies out on me. She's the same mother that used to pray to God, God, please cure him or kill him because I can't take this anymore. You know, people often ask me how I'm doing, and the honest-to-God response is much better than I deserve. If justice was due, I'd be dead years ago. You know, and this is my own thing, and I hear people say, you know, I worked really hard for this seat. I worked hard for this seat. And maybe you did, but I didn't. I did not. You know who worked really hard for my seat in Alcoholics Anonymous? My mother, my brother, my sister, my employers. Anybody that crossed my path worked really hard for me to sit right there. You know, so for me to say that I'm on borrowed time is an understatement. My name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic, and what that means when I say that is very simple. It's really, really simple. It simply means I'm defiant by nature, I hate authority, and I will never, ever, ever conform. Unless it becomes my idea. So when Ron so graciously asked, Ron knows me well, we have history together, and he said, Brandon, I need you to do without cursing tonight. My immediate response was, I am going to say the F word over and over for 1 hour straight. True story. But the reality is welcome to every new person that puts your hand up. Welcome if you're here and you don't want to be here. Welcome if you're here because it's just an overreaction at best. Welcome if you're here because you just want to get away from your husband or your wife. Welcome if you're here and you really want to be here. Welcome, man. Welcome. If this is your first Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, I'm about to ruin your drinking career. Welcome. Ignorance is bliss. When you don't know, you can't be held accountable. But when you know, try that for size. So as much as I would like to tell Ron, F you, I'm doing this, the reality is I have a God-like conscience that came as a direct result of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous that will not allow me to do what I want to do. I can. I absolutely can. But I can also suffer the consequences of my actions. And I choose not to. I choose not to. I just celebrated, by the grace of God, May 25th, 2021, I just celebrated 6 years of continuous sobriety. Thank you. Believe you me, that was nothing that I had done. Right? I'm not clever enough to paint myself in this picture for what you see me in. This thing works when I don't work it. Right? All praise goes to the higher power that I choose to call God. Because the moment that I think I got this thing and I am to take credit for this, I'll start thinking I suffer from that disease called alcoholism. I'll start thinking I suffer from that disease called alcoholism, not alcoholism. You know? And I'll think that I can stay sober on yesterday's sobriety, and I'll think that I got this, and all of a sudden, I find myself in positions that I don't understand how I got there, because the last time I checked, like I was on fire, I was doing this. Yeah, it's really hard to drink a glass of wine when it's cut with AA. So back to these people, if it's your first meeting, I'm not picking on you. I'm stoked that you're here. I'm stoked that I get to hopefully ruin the rest of your active alcoholic years that you have ahead of you, maybe or maybe not. But yeah, so with celebrating 6 years, the realization that I came to is the longer I stay sober, the less that I know. Right? So it really simplifies my life. Because this is all a direct result of the pain becoming great enough. Because I wasn't the guy that walked into his first treatment center willingly and happy and really gung-ho to have this spiritual experience and live on this God-like plane and, do things the right way. No. As a matter of fact, the way I live my life is kind of like process of elimination backwards. I try everything that I think I can that will fix the problem that stands before me, and all of them fail. And then, for me, the alcoholic that I am, I don't change when things are unmanageable. I change when things are unbearable, right? So when I find myself in just the right amount of pain, then I'd be willingly come and say, do with me what you will, you know. So it's, in layman's terms, I like to take the long way. And that's cool, because it makes my life really simplistic today. Because I was broken and beaten so bad that when I came in and the pain turned to my purpose, unbeknownst to me, I found myself in a state of just enough willingness to actually put my hand out and say, I can't, but Mark, you can. I can't, but Ron, you can. Can you help me? And as good members of Alcoholics Anonymous, they kept true to their word. They extended the hand of AA, and I just celebrated 6 years, you know. And this wasn't my first go-around. This is treatment center number 13, right? Like, you know, I walked into that first treatment center simply trying to let my mother and my then-girlfriend know that all this was an overreaction at best. She just caught me at a bad time on a bad way in a bad day. And I went in there with a closed mind and a closed heart, comparing out, proving a point, because the matter is I couldn't stand you. I could not stand any one of you. I didn't want to be here. You were my father. You represented everything my father stood for. My father was a great man. Today, I'll tell you that. Right? If you call me at 30, 60, 90, 1 year, 2 year, you know, sobriety, I would have told you, you know, my father was the worst man on earth, and therefore I experienced the most debilitating upbringing a child should ever have to endure. That's not the case. Come on, that's not the case. The reality is my father did the best that he could with what he had. Right? And for the new people, right? Out of town, visitors, whatever you are, don't get confused in the things that I'm saying, because I didn't come in here with this knowledge, right? The reality is I came in here and I saved my face for so long, right? Because everything was external. How you viewed me, what you thought of me, what your opinion of me, what your takeaway from me was, and I would save my face to the kind of alcoholic that I am, not was. I would literally lose my behind on the corner of Eastern Avenue and Patterson Park in Baltimore City for $40 just to secure another drink. Right? So what happened was the pain became great enough that for the first time in my life, at the ripe young age of 38, freshly after waking up on life support for 7 days in Mercy Hospital, the very same hospital that my mother's a nuclear physicist on the board of, I came to and I came to and I was sent directly to my 13th treatment center, and for the first time the pain became great enough that I sat in the very same chairs and I worried about saving my behind. And somewhere along the lines, in the process of saving my behind and my faith kind of correlated, and now I can stand here before you, ladies and gentlemen, today and give you a message of promise, hope, and freedom, one that does not consist of a drink or a drug, with conviction. I can tell you where I came from. I can tell you the things that I did, and I can tell you where I believe or hope that I'm heading without fear of what your takeaway is. Right? Because what I learned in my sobriety is that your opinion of me will not keep me sober. Your outlook on me will not pay my bills. And your perspective of me will not give my mother a sound night's sleep. Right? So what happened is, for so many years, everything was external. Everything was external. I was trying to fill this internal void with the external solution. Right? And then the pain had become great enough, and I had tried everything, took the long way around, process of elimination backwards, got here, treatment center number 13, 38 years old, just woke up on life support for 7 days. I had been medevaced to 4 different hospitals in 4 different states and 4 different overdoses. My mother had bought me a plot. People had taken life insurance policies out on me. 3 homes were sold to financially pay for me to go to 2 different treatment centers. The very best that I came up with was a 38-year-old man who prostituted his body on the corner of Eastern Avenue and Patterson Park just to secure enough finances to buy another drink. My worldly possessions, everything that I owned in this world, despite being a pretty successful individual by some people's standards, right? Because I'm nobody's fool. I come from better. I pride myself on being an outside-the-box thinker. And what that looked like without me getting into it is I'm a professional skateboarder. I ended up in these movies that broke box office records. I'm a New York Times selling author who had written an autobiography, addiction memoir that, like, you can go buy in Barnes and Nobles. And I wrote that book with, like, pen and paper with no high school diploma. As a matter of fact, I got my GED after my first book was published while I was incarcerated in the penitentiary. Right, I'm not sitting here trying to give you my resume so you can think that I'm this really slick, sophisticated, slick-talking, intelligent, articulate alcoholic. That's not why. No, that's not it. That is not it at all. Right? The reason why I tell you where I come from is because what I God willing hope that everyone in this room understands is that the disease of alcoholism does not discriminate. From Yale or jail, the White House or the outhouse, the results are all the same. Right? My brother is an attorney in the White House who practices pensions and benefits. My mother's a nuclear physicist. My father never held a job a day in his life. He taught me one thing: if and when I go to prison, how to conduct myself. He ran with the Hells Angels. He was a rather unsavory kind of fellow, if you will. He acquired the license of crack cocaine, and his body shut down. He's no longer with us. Right? So I came from better. I knew better. I lived with that after-school special, that cautionary tale. Because Jerome, my father, was a great man. Everybody loved Rome. Rome was the guy. He was the guy, even to his family. But when he didn't come home at 5:30 to make dinner at night, we knew what Rome was walking in the door at 3:30. And when we heard the bikes pull up to the house and the key hit the door, we shook like leaves, because Jerome was the kind of guy that if he was awake, the whole house was awake. And he would march me, my mother, my sister, and my brother to the living room sofa, put us on the sofa while we watched the guys do what they did. Kind of guy he was. So from a very young age, I witnessed that psychic change that takes place in an alcoholic once they ingest a drink. I knew it. And as a matter of fact, I excelled at everything I did to prove a point why I would never become that bum. And I did just that. I really did. He was the motivating factor behind me hating you. Unbeknownst to me and him. Unbeknownst to me and him. And as a matter of fact, I made my amends to him while I was getting loaded. The pain had become great enough, because I was the kind of alcoholic that, like, I was working on a project, and we'd finish filming for the day, and the cast and the crew would go into Westchester, and we'd go to Ram's Head Pub, and my best friend who financially paid to put me in several treatment centers, right, who I credit for getting me out of Baltimore City, saving my life, who at this moment sits in a psychiatric unit in Arizona because he was incapable of stopping himself from things that were happening. You know, I was that guy. I'm never as bad as Novak. I'm never as bad as Novak. And I firmly believe now that God saw fit to put me in the position that I'm in today to understand, not be understood. Right? And but we would finish, and everyone would go to the pub, and I'd say, okay, I'm going to meet you there at 9:30. And they're like, why? I said, because I'm going to go to this Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And they said, why? What are you wasting time? Why? It makes no sense. You're gonna come to the pub and get loaded with us and do God knows what, but you want to go to a meeting, right? Because the third tradition, man. The third tradition. I possess the third tradition that you told me the only requirement for membership was the desire to stop drinking, and I had that. And I knew that my life was going to play out one of two ways. Either I was going to get this, or I was going to die in the process of trying. But I was never the kind of alcoholic that just accepted the fact that I was going to die belly up to a bar. That was just nonsense to me. Because the reality is I was that kind of alcoholic that it stopped working. It legit stopped working. That psychic change that takes place, right, that allows me to escape my reality upon every drink, right, without fail. It always showed up for me. At 38 years old, it stopped showing up. So no matter how much I ingested, that delusional effect refused to show up. And I'm talking at 38 years old, I had given everything to this one thing. I had given it homes, I had given it careers, I had given it family members, I had given it my life 10 million folds over, I've lost count. I've given it my sexuality. It asks, I give. Because the disease that I possessed that brought me through this door, begging God for one more shot. When that thing says jump, I say, yes sir, I'll try. When it says go, I say where and when. Right? Because the disease that I possess does not allow me to have the privilege of having say. My story is my story. I can't tell you your story, and I'm not going to attempt to do that. But with my story, I keep my past married to my present, because the moment that this alcoholic forgets the pain that brought him through these doors at 6 years sober, which is even more dangerous than at 6 days sober. Because, see, my life does not look like today what it looked like May 25th, 2015. Right? May 25th, 2015, I came to Life Support Mercy Hospital. People bought me life insurance policies, medevacs, overdoses, mother praying for my death. To today, I pull up in my Range Rover and I go home to one of my 3 homes, and I've just started another business, and I'm a productive tax-paying member of society. And Monday morning, I'm on a 6 a.m. flight to Miami, and then from there I have to go to California to film a video part for skateboarding. And please, I don't want you to sit there and say, oh, all right, we get it, Mr. You know, that's not the deal. All I'm simply trying to do is paint this really clear picture for you that it's easier for me today to forget the pain that brought me in, because like the people that I surround myself with have never seen me loaded. Christ, I'm in bed by 9:30 at night. Homelessness was like a really big part of my story. I walked into my 13th treatment center with everything that I owned that consisted of 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, 1 stick of deodorant. It fit into a bag that doubles my pillow, a needle, a spoon, and a restraining order that the ink was still fresh on, that my mother had served on me to physically be removed from her home in Baltimore. I still have that bag in my home, right? That's what I walked in here with. But as a direct result of the spiritual experience that I received from working the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, the promises that came true in abundance. In abundance. But I got here at my first treatment, at my first meeting, and I just did not want to be here. I was here to prove a point to my mother and my girlfriend while they overreacted, and I, too, can drink successfully. That was treatment center number 1, meeting number 1. Treatment center number 13, meeting number 13 million. I was begging to God. You suggested I followed. Because I could no longer deny the fact that the common denominator in my problem was me, Brandon Novak. And despite the successful accolades that I shared with you, the very best that I came up with was a 38-year-old man who, I'm going to spare you the details, I don't have enough time to get into them, walking into his 13th inpatient treatment center, and my clothes were literally tied on by a shoestring. I had these pants on with no underwear, and I had got robbed, so my front and my back pockets were completely open, and my front and my back were completely exposed. I had this button-up shirt on that was ripped, and the only button that was still buttoned was this very top button, and I had these, at one point in time, nice Brooks Brothers shoes, but I had lost a shoestring along the way, and I walked into that treatment center looking like a gay East LA Cholo gangbanger. 38 years old, and they take one look at me, this 19-year-old tech, I'll never forget, his name was Brian, God bless him. He said, Mr. Novak, you're back. And I said, aren't you a genius, boy? He said, I'm sorry to inform you, but your clothes are not rehab-oriented. You need some underwear, you need some sweatpants, you need some slides. And again, right, ignorance was no longer bliss. I had attempted to get sober enough times that I heard one of you AA people say, a grateful alcoholic will never drink again. And I find myself standing next to 19-year-old Brian, who's brimming from ear to ear because he's experienced the promises. As a matter of fact, he's so happy that I take it as a sign of disrespect and I want to knock his head off. Because it had been a long time since I had found anything to smile about. And anybody that did it in my space was violating me. But at that time when he said, Mr. Novak, you need some underwear, you need some sweatpants, you need some slides, I found myself in my head to myself saying, God, I would do anything for a pair of underwear. And I remembered you people saying, and it made sense. The seeds were planted long before I was aware. So again, to the new people, if you're sitting in this room and you're waiting for a miracle to happen, please allow me to be the first person to tell you it's already taking place. It's already happening. And with that, he says, I say, I don't have any. And he said, okay, come with me downstairs to the donations room. My mother's a nuclear physicist. My brother's an attorney in the White House. I'm a professional skateboarder. I've been in movies that break box office records. I've toured the world 10 times over. I'm a New York Times selling author who's written a book on addiction. I'm now a 38-year-old grown man standing in the basement of a Catholic Charities rehab that cost me $2 to get into. The walls are sweating. There's no electricity down there. There's these boxes. And he says, okay, we're going to see if we can find you some second, third, fourth, fifth-hand pair of used underwear. I don't know if anybody heard what I just said. And with that, not only is he going to find me some second, third, fourth, fifth-hand used underwear, the electricity doesn't work, so now I'm a participant in this insane mission, and he gives me his phone, and I got to hold the light on this box, and the box is falling apart because it's like sweaty mildew. I'm shaking. I'm everything that you can think that's happening during a detox to me at that time is happening at the same time. And he's looking for some, and I'm praying to God that he finds them. And he doesn't find them, but what he does find is a pair of size 40 women's sweatpants with no drawstring. A woman's tank top and a pair of size 13 Jesus sandals. I don't know how alert or attentive anybody in this room is, but I'm not a woman and I do not wear a size 13. At that moment, May 25th, 2015, when if you would have opened up the English dictionary and added the word less to every word in that book, that's how I had felt on that day. I was an alcoholic at that very moment that wanted to kill himself on a daily basis. I just didn't want to hurt myself in the process. It was terrible with suicide because I kept waking up and the miracle's already happening. What I've learned is that my life is live forward and learn backwards. And having finally done the internal work that was required to get the external results that I've always desired, it's so easy for me to look back and recognize the synchronicity in life's events that have led me to the right here, right now. It proves to me that God has been doing for me long before I could do for myself. And at that very moment, little did I know that the course of my life was going to forever change. At that very moment, I'm holding his phone. I want to knock his head off because he's so happy. He's looking for used clothes, and he gives me women's clothing and shoes that don't fit. Two things took place that were forever going to change the course of my life at that very moment. The very first thing is I was met directly face to face by the God of my understanding. The direct result of that gift of desperation. The pain had become my purpose unbeknownst to me. I did not know that at the time. And the very same thing that took place at that moment. See, because for 23-ish years of my alcoholic career, I possessed this job that consisted of knowing everything. So thank you, Ron. Thank you, Mark, for kindly suggesting the things that I should do that will save my life. And I'm going to kindly suggest why you should F off. Because I know. And I really believed I know. And the scary thing is it looked like I know because if you saw my resume, it stated that I had did some things in life. And in May 25th, 2015, 38 years old, standing in my 13th inpatient treatment center, I came to the realization that you know what I do know? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. I've never been further from the truth. So with that being said, he hands me women's clothes and shoes that don't fit. I go upstairs, I get a shower, I get that Baltimore City smell off me. Never so excited to wear women's clothing in my life. I successfully complete that 90-day treatment center. And in that 90-day treatment center, they taught me a few things, right? They taught me some few things that really made my sobriety easy. Because, like, I had nothing else turn to. I told you I wanted to kill myself. I just didn't want to hurt myself in the process. The delusional effect stopped producing every time I put one in. Yet no longer, the moment of clarity happened when I was sober and drunk. I don't know about you, but I can't think of anything worse than that. Death was welcomed. Honestly, death was welcomed. Therefore, when you guys suggested what I should do to get better, I didn't know that nothing was different in treatment center number 13 that they missed at 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. They weren't giving pills to the cool kids in the bathroom or secret shots to a person if you knew a code. No. The knowledge is open and it's free for the taking. And the only reason why I could grasp that is because the pain became great enough that I was willing to do anything they suggested. So when they told me things like, if you stick to the basics, kid, God willing, you never have to go back to the basics. That if you change your perception, you can change your world. And that one day your defects can become your assets with the slightest shift of perception. So the very same thing that was killing me can now be the very same thing that Ron calls me up and says, hey, can you come share a message of promise, hope, and freedom, one that does not consist of a drink or a drug? That my history did not have to dictate my future, but it could most certainly guide and direct it. That I suffer from a thing called alcoholism, not alcoholism, and I can't stay sober on yesterday's sobriety. My sobriety has a shelf life of 24 hours. 6 years and a couple weeks sober, I still do the same thing I did when I had 30 days in an inpatient 90-day treatment center. Right? You guys told me that resentments are our number one offender. They're the only thing, not the only thing, they're the main thing that drive us to drink. And for me, to drink is to not die. For me, it's to drink and to wake up every day and do things against my will to get another one. And that's worse than death. And that expectations are nothing but unfulfilled resentments, right? Because the moment that I place one on you, on her, on him, it's not a matter of if you let me down, it's when you let me down. Nobody's going to live up to my standards. And I'm the kind of guy that if it doesn't make sense to me, it's wrong, so good luck. Like I am setting myself up for failure on a daily basis. And the thing is, ignorance is no longer bliss. I know that because my mentors taught me that. And my world is so much easier to navigate through when I learned that, you know what I can control? Me, my thinking, my attitude, my behavior, and acceptance is the answer to all. And I'm not sitting here trying to be this really profound student of Alcoholics Anonymous that can quote the big book. I can't even tell you where that's at in the book, but I do know that you guys say it a lot, and it works true because I do it, and it's a really simple format. It's a formula that works, and I'm the kind of guy that I used to fix things a lot that were not broken, you know. So again, waking up with 6 years sober, coming to the realization that you know what I do know is that I don't know. When I start each day with an open mind, I'm really very seldomly let down. You know, very seldomly let down. Because ultimately I know that I'm not in control of anything. All that happened to me, looking back, right, my life lived forward and learned backwards. On May 25th, 2015, I attempted to board a flight to Fort Lauderdale in that very same outfit that I shared with you. I walked into treatment with that gay East LO Cholo gangbanger outfit on. And when I attempted to board that flight, the two things that I've learned in my career is that I would never win an argument with a judge or a TSA airport security agent. What they say goes. May 25th, 2015, I'm at BWI Airport. I've burnt every bridge known to man that's been extended to me multiple times, and I end up there. I have my restraining order from my mother's house. She's finally put me out. I have nothing, and I have this lovely woman in Fort Lauderdale who's extended an opportunity out to me. She said, hey, she DM'd me through Instagram. She said, Novak, I read your book. It saved my life. And I could care less because I didn't want mine right now. And she said, what do you say about an all-exclusive paid trip to Fort Lauderdale? And I said, that's great. I'm going to need some alcohol and some X and some Y and some Z. And she says, no problem. Right? Red flag number one, my book saved her life, but she's going to give me substance to kill mine. But I don't care because I don't care for my life right now. And I do a little bit more research, and I find out that she lives in a hotel. That's not a good look either. And I do a little bit more research. I realize she's like a lady of the night or a dancer, which I have no problem with either of those things because I've seen me become both of them for $10. I have, me personally. But she had two requirements that I was to fulfill when I touched down in Fort Lauderdale. Mind you, she's paying for airfare, she's paying for the flight, she's paying for the alcohol. That's all that matters. Come on. And when I got there, she wanted to party, and she wanted to make love, for lack of better words. See, I restrained there. Standing up here before my people in a suit makes me think twice about things that I'm going to say. Right? If I had on a street outfit, in a suit, I feel like very astute. I got to conduct myself in a manner. I didn't brush my teeth in the bathroom here for no reason. I need to act accordingly. But I don't know about anybody in this room, but when I drink my particular kind of alcohol, I tend to sleep. So I knew that I was not going to fulfill my two obligations with her. I was going to wear my welcome out really, really fast, pun intended. And I didn't want to go to Fort Lauderdale. It was hot, it was sandy, I don't know the hustles, but the reality is the disease from which I possess said, if I want to know what you want to do, I'll ask. Till then, shut up and get in line. And I got in line at the airport with my gay East LA Cholo gangbanger outfit on because I didn't have the privilege of putting underwear on. I didn't, the reason why I ended up like that is I attempted to go buy some alcohol before I boarded this flight, and the bartenders saw fit to rob me as opposed to serve me, so they ripped my pockets out, and that's why I'm in that outfit. But anyways, when I got up to the counter, the TSA agent, she took one look at me and she said, Mr. Novak, are you under the influence of anything? And I said, absolutely not. She said, I believe that you are. You will not fly for 3 days. 3 days. Not the next flight. Or tomorrow. 3 days. 72 hours. My delusional narrative that I created to support my behaviors were this. The woman knows who I am. Her son or daughter is an alcoholic, and she's blaming her kid's alcoholism on me. How dare her pee on my parade? The reality is anybody dressed the way I was dressed was not allowed to walk outside here, let alone board a flight to anywhere. But again, my life lived forward and learned backwards, right? Now, today, with over 6 years sober, I can look back and recognize the synchronicity in life's events that led me to the here and now that proved to me that the miracles have been taking place long before I was aware. God dressed up in the form of a TSA airport security agent and did for me what I could not do for myself because I lied to you not. I have no reason to. I really don't. Standing at that counter, asking for my flight information, my heart was beating 10 million miles a minute. I knew that it was going to end really, really. I knew it. I could see my future playing out. But I was incapable of saying, no, this is not a good idea. I'm telling you. And God literally dressed up in the form of a TSA airport security agent and did for me what I could not do for myself, and simply divinely inconvenienced me in just such a manner created just a big enough gap between me and what I really wanted was the next drink to get out of line, go into the corner, and I called my sponsor, Lex. And I said, Lex, I'm stranded at BWI Airport. I want to, kill myself. And he said, no. What you're going to do is you're going to jump on a train and you're going to come back to 30th Street Station. And you people that I directly connected to my father could not stand. Told you, went to the first meeting just to get people off my back. I was not drinking your Kool-Aid. I was not buying what you were selling. 38 years old, May 25th, 2015, Memorial Day to be exact. You people were the only people that would accept my call. You people. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry the message to the alcoholic and to practice these principles in all our affairs. You people. You left your cookouts. You left your families. You left your husbands. You left your wives. You come and you pick the helpless, hopeless alcoholic such as myself up. I called my sponsor, Lex. He said, you're going to show up at the train station and 2 members of Alcoholics Anonymous will be there to pick you up. And my sponsor called both of those people. And the one guy who was my sponsor today said, absolutely. And then he called a second one. And Jimmy said to Lex, he said, come on, he's not going to stay sober. And Lex, my sponsor, said back to Jimmy, he said, that's between him and God. Lex then said to Jimmy, you might want to be careful because one day he could be helping you. Jimmy didn't stay sober, and guess who he called? Jimmy didn't want to come get me that night because he had a date. He was really looking forward to this date. I think he really believed that he was refraining my language, Ron. He was going to seal the deal. But both those gentlemen, they kept true on their word. They left their cookouts, they left their dates, they left their families, they left to come pick a hopeless, helpless alcoholic such as myself up, who was deemed unhealthy when unfixable. My mother bought me a plot. As a matter of fact, she bought 2 plots. 9 years ago on Mother's Day, she spent her Mother's Day buying 2 plots. One for me, one for her. Because she said that if she passed, who was going to make sure her son was buried properly? I decided to be cremated. So if anybody's in the market for a plot, I have 2 for sale in Baltimore. No joke. I'm going to sell them. I'm going to donate them, the proceeds. So for me to get up here tonight and say I've driven probably 7 hours today after being at Gonzaga High School watching my nephew graduate with my sister who vowed to never ever speak to me again. As fate would have it, on my 1-year anniversary, I was in Baltimore. I went to make amends to my sister because while I was in treatment, I was in a 90-day treatment. I had made it up to my 8th step. I was making my list. So probably around 5 months, I had attempted to make amends to her, and she wanted no part. She said, I will never, ever, ever speak to you again. I usually don't share about this, but I'm not telling you my story, and I have 10 minutes to go, so here we go. I'm going to tell you 2 amends that my sponsor insisted I share about. I normally don't, but here we go. The first one was my sister. She swore that she would never, ever, ever speak to me again. On my 1-year anniversary, right around this time, 5 years ago, I'm in Baltimore, and I leave my mother's house, and I'm about to get on a train to come back to Philadelphia to celebrate my 1 year at life or death. And my sister calls me. She says, are you with Mom? I said, no, I'm at the train station. She said, go get her and meet me at Derek's house now, and hung up. My sister, when she says something, she means it. It's not like, she'll get over. No. She means it. So I listened, right? I listened. I did what was expected of me. I went and picked my mother up, and my sister and her boyfriend, her husband Derek, were going through a divorce at the time. They hadn't seen each other for some time. And she said, "Come to Derek's house." And my mother and myself, we go to Derek's house, and all the police are outside, and the police have my sister and her 3 kids, which are my nieces and nephews, in the kitchen and will not let them leave. And I go in, and what I found out was that Derek became a terrible gambling addict, and he went upstairs and he made a noose and he hung himself. And they refused to let the kids or my sister leave because it was still an active crime scene. See, right before Derek did that, he sent out a group text, and all of them rushed to the house simultaneously, but in different cars. When I walked in, my nieces and nephews, who I had physically been around for a lot of years, but mentally I had been checked out. And I went in there, and they broke the window to get in, and I talked to the police, and I got the police to understand why it makes sense to let them leave, and we'd still remain there. And they left, and I fixed the window, and I went to Home Depot, and I boarded the house up. And then I went and I picked my niece up, and I went and I made amends to her at the coffee shop. And now his youngest son, 9 months ago, I'm in California. My sister, the one who swore she would never ever speak to me, she called me crying frantically. She said, "Brandon, it's Patrick. It's Colin. You have to come back." And I flew back, and Colin had got expelled from college, and he had taken the liking of alcohol, and he was asked to leave. He blew a full scholarship as a water polo athlete, and I personally flew my nephew to Florida, and I put him into a treatment center, and he successfully completed that treatment center, and now lives in a sober living down there. Right? Like, this is my sister who swore that she would never talk to me as a direct result of my alcoholism, and now who do you think the go-to guy is when there's a problem in the family? My mother says that I am the most normal out of my attorney and the White House brother and my sister who works at the hospital. There's another gentleman by the name of Damien. Damien was a rather large illegal substance dealer in Baltimore, and I ripped him off for $10,000. And Damien in turn put a $15,000 hit out on me. Right? So much so that my buddy picked me up and he put me on a Greyhound bus from Baltimore City to Crested Butte, Colorado, the furthest north part of Colorado you could get. A 6-day bus ride with $0, withdrawing the whole time, stealing to eat in between each stop, and seriously just like survival mode. I get to Colorado, I end up breaking into a gas station, end up on that TV show, The World's Dumbest Criminals. Decide to use my one phone call to call Damien and tell him how I would never pay him back, because while he paid to put a $15,000 hit on me, he also called the police and said that I had broke into his fiance's home and stole $10,000. So they took these warrants out, grand theft, B&E, and now I'm being held in Gunnison County Jail in Crested Butte, Colorado, and they're not willing to extradite me because it's not worth their money. So I called Damien and tell him how great this is, right? And he said, "I'm going to kill you when I see you." Hang the phone up, whatever, do my time, get released, get on a plane, stopped in Denver, got some things that I liked. Got on the plane, came back to BWI, and right when I got off the airplane, I went outside and did the substances that I really like, and I overdosed. Police pulled me up, they found out I had these warrants. I didn't even make it out of the airport. I go to court. Damien's in there. I said, "Judge, of course he's going to say I stole his money. It's his word against mine. I'm a known alcoholic with a serious rap sheet. Why wouldn't he say that I did it?" And the judge said, "I'm not. Don't waste my time. I'm not dealing with this. You two deal with it on your own." He bangs the gavel. With that being said, Damien lives in Little Italy, about not even a block away from my mother's house. So every time I would go visit, I received a really bad whooping. You know, he'd get word I was in town. Him and his crew would show up, and I would get it. 2 years ago, literally, right, I have this God-like conscience. I know that I can't stay sober and live dirty. I know that, like, my real connection with my higher power happens when I sit down with another alcoholic and the 9th step. Like, I know that because I've received those benefits from this program. I've been sober long enough. And I called Damien and I said, Damien, this is Brandon, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to meet you. What do you say, like Starbucks in the harbor? And he says, no, we'll meet in the woods down by the pond. I immediately called Lex. I said, Lex, he wants to meet me in the woods by a pond. Because you said, meet in a public place. Lex's retort to that was, you've experienced the third step, right? I said, yeah, but he wants to meet me in the woods by a pond. He said, you've experienced the third step. Here we go. God is everything or God is nothing. Show me what you got. So I go and I have money in my pocket and I go to this wooded area next to a pond, completely secluded, and lo and behold, Damien walks up. And I said, Damien, I really want to apologize to you. I did the whole amends process. And I said, I'm part of this 12-step program where it's about my sobriety and me making my wrongs right. And I need to pay you this $10,000. So here's $2, and on the 28th of every month, I will send you a check. And Damien said, I don't want your money. And I said, it's not about what you want. I have to give it to you. So you have to take it. And he said, I forgave you a long time ago. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, what you don't know is this. Is that, I owned a bar. He owned a bar in Little Italy. And he said, the bar no longer exists. And I said, yeah, what happened? He said, well, I became an alcoholic. And he said, I've struggled with alcoholism for some years now. And he said, as a matter of fact, I just got out of treatment 2 days ago. He said, I was actually going to drink today. I had it planned. I was going to drink today. Lo and behold, the phone rang, and it's you. He said, I took that as a sign of something bigger than me. And Damien just celebrated 2 years of sobriety. Damien just celebrated 2 years of sobriety and has become a really good friend of mine. This guy paid $15,000 to have me killed. Again, these are things, unlike anything that I can produce. I am not clever enough to paint myself in this picture for which you view me in. I'm going to close with this story. There's a father that works from home, and the father's swamped in paperwork. Swamped in paperwork. And he's watching his child, and his child keeps banging his dad on the knee. Dad, take me out to play. Take me out to play. The father is swamped in paperwork, and the father's trying to think of a way to distract his child long enough to complete the task at hand. He walks into his office, and in his office, on his desk, is a humongous picture of a puzzle of the world map. And the father immediately thinks to himself, I got it. And he walks over to the puzzle and he completely dismantles the puzzle and he throws it on the floor in hundreds of pieces. He says, son, when you put the picture of the puzzle of the world map back together, I'll take you out to play. And the father leaves that room surely, without a doubt, believing that he just created a big enough gap, 2-3 days to be exact, to finish the task at hand, his work. 20 minutes later, that kid comes back and he bangs his dad on the knee. Dad, I did it. Dad, I did it. Dad to himself is thinking, impossible. He walks back into that office, and as sure as the day is long, the picture of the puzzle of the world map is put back together. The father, in complete disbelief, looks at the son. He says, son, how did you do this? And the son said, Dad, it was real easy. Dad, it was real easy, because on the back of the picture of the puzzle of the world map was a picture of a man. I put the man back together, the world fell back in place. Together we stand, divided I die. My name is Brandon. Thank you for giving me your time. stage right exit?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Thank you very much, Brandon, for coming here tonight and taking the time to come and share an incredible message of hope and recovery with our group. We're already at the hour, so I'll make it quick here. This group starts Food and Fellowship at 8 o'clock, so if you want to get here early, get involved, do some service work, we'll greatly appreciate it. There's always a meeting after the meeting, so if you're out there, if you're new, or if you're struggling, or if you've been coming around for a while and it's just not working for you, grab somebody after the meeting. We'll all be hanging out. If you want to help clean up, maybe put away some chairs, even better. But let's give one more round of applause for our speaker, Brandon. Thank you. And if you do care to join us, we will close with the Lord's Prayer. Just stand in place. We will close with a brief moment of silence for the still sick and suffering alcoholic, followed by the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. It is customary for us to thank our speakers, so we usually form a line and thank our speakers personally, and it's fair to do so.